I'm not sure if you can see that. I think you can. I don't know how many of you have ever tried to focus a camera with a very shallow depth of field onto a strand of hair, but it's not as easy as it sounds. Bam. Hi guys, it's Alex here. So it's been a while since I've done a sharpening video on this YouTube channel. So I figured since it's still early in the year, we might as well start off 2019 correctly with a good old-fashioned sharpening video. So the system that I want to show you today is a system that I've been using for all of 2019. This is a fantastic beginner system in my opinion. I think as far as beginners go, this is probably going to be the best bang for your buck and the system that gets you the best results as quickly as possible. It's also not going to bog you down with a bunch of different stone choices and whatnot. This is a one stone, two strop system. It'll give you hair whittling results about as fast as you can possibly get with a one stone system. So with that being said, let me bring you in here. I'll show you how I use it and exactly what the system is. All right guys, so here's the system. I know, it's not that impressive. So first off, we've got the heart and soul of the system, which is the DMT, can you see that? The Die Sharp Fine. I have the entire set of these DMT Diamond stones, and this is the stone that I use most often. In my opinion, if you can only own one, this is the one I would get, the DMT Die Sharp Fine. I've used this stone for a year now, sharpening all kinds of stuff on here, stuff that probably shouldn't even be done to this stone, I've done to it. It does have issues, which we might get into in a later video, but in terms of ease of sharpening, speed of sharpening, and the fact that it'll cut any steel, this is S110V, almost as easily as it cuts any other type of steel, that's the reason that I like this. It also does not load up at all. I tend to use this stone completely dry. What will happen is it'll just sort of build up like a powder on the surface, which is just the steel that's been removed, and then you just take a paper towel and wipe it off. You can use these wet, but most of the time, like I just said, I use these completely dry just for the time's sake and the fact that it's not messy. So next we have a 3 micron diamond compound strop. Then we have a 1 micron diamond compound strop. For me personally, I like a 2 strop system versus a 2 stone system and then a strop, simply because it's faster in my opinion. And it's also a little bit cheaper to sort of do your progression on strops than it is to go ahead and buy another stone. For me, this is just a much faster way of doing it. This is just the system that I like to use. It's the best system in my opinion to get the best results possible as quickly as possible. So with all that being said, let me go ahead and show you exactly how I use this system in order to get the best results out of it. So I'm just going to go ahead and take you through my normal sharpening procedure. Now keep in mind, I'm doing this for a video. I wouldn't necessarily do everything exactly like this in real life, but as far as the actual sharpening goes, this is kind of how it goes. A lot of times I'll just pull the stone out and sharpen exactly like this in my hand, but for the sake of the video and keeping everything in frame and whatnot, we're going to do it on the bench. Here's one of those super cheap Amazon stones. It's dished out. We're going to use this to dull our knife, just so everybody's like, oh, well, you started out with a super sharp knife. So we're nice and dull at this point, right? So I'm just gonna go ahead and use a little bit of alcohol to wipe off top of the stone. I like alcohol sometimes because it evaporates super quick. And you can see the, can you see that? The metal spots. All right, so we got our knife. It's been pre-dulled as you just saw. And we'll go ahead and start sharpening. So I actually taught my brother how to sharpen a couple of weeks ago. A little bit more, Oh, right, now lift it up. So it just looks like the apex of that blade touches the stone. Does that look about right?
Yeah. Well,
it looks about right to me. So
right there.
That's the angle that you want to try and maintain as accurately as possible as you're sharpening the knife.
What's the best way to do that?
The rule of thumb. Take your thumb, put the knife about the middle of your thumb like that, and use that as sort of like a measuring spot so that every time you put the knife back on the stone, you put it generally in the same spot. Does that make sense? And I still kind of do that today, and it doesn't matter if you're sharpening in this orientation or if you're sharpening in the other orientation. Put your thumb there and sharpen. Another thing that I do is I take my ring finger, that is my ring finger, and I put it right on the tip of the knife very carefully, not to slip off the tip, but that is just sort of indexing where I am on the tip of the knife. So everything here is about consistency. Be as consistent as possible when you're sharpening, and go ahead and put my ring finger and use it as an index finger. See what I did there? And we'll go ahead and start sharpening. Like I said, this is a super efficient stone. And then when we turn around in this direction, you can use your index finger and about the same, about halfway, about a third of the way up or so, halfway, a third of the way up your index finger, depending on how long your index finger is. I think this is your index finger, isn't it? And we'll use that as our index in the opposite direction. Again, we'll use our ring finger and place it on the tip, and we'll go in the opposite direction. So just that fast, we've formed the burr. That was only a couple passes on each side, and I know that I formed the burr because I can feel it. Take your finger. Actually, we might not have a burr right there along the end. We might not have a burr there, so we'll go back. Now we have a burr down the entire length of the knife. So again, like I was saying, this is an extremely efficient stone. It cuts super well. This is S110V. I know it's fairly dull when we started. So at this point we're apex. We'll go ahead and move on to our 3 micron strop. Now with stropping, I like to set these on a bench a lot of times. I feel I get better results when I do that. And use them exactly like I do a stone, except I'm working the strop in the opposite direction. I'm kind of moving around here. Might have to set this here to add some weight. Wouldn't normally be doing this on this surface plate, but it just raises it up for the camera a little bit better. So go ahead and make, I don't know, 4 or 5 passes on either side for a total of 10 to 15. Oh yeah. So for me, this is where I like to do the majority of my stropping work, is on the this particular 3 micron strop. Sometimes I'll use a 6 micron depending upon the grit of stone that I'm finishing on, but for the vast majority of the time I'm using this DMT fine and the 3 micron. So we've done about 10-15 passes on each side on that one. And now we'll move on to our 1 micron. Now at this point, our knife is, it's shaving sharp. I mean, so you can see, hopefully you can see that. It is absolutely shaving sharp. This is sharper than most factories are going to send you their knives. So if you're not worried about getting the absolute hair whittling edge, then you can probably be just fine with the 3 micron strop. But we're going to take it a step further and go to the 1 micron and just show you what this is capable of. Same thing, we're going to place the knife on the strop at approximately the same angle. We're going to strop backwards using medium to medium light pressure. The type of leather that I use to make these strops out of is very firm. It doesn't have a tendency to roll the edge if you apply too much pressure, but you generally don't want to apply like gorilla pressure on here. All right, so there we have about 10 to 15 passes on each side. Yeah, I don't know if you can see the edge there or not. We're not looking for the ultimate mirror edge here, but we want a fairly sharp edge. So let's see if it'll whittle hair. I can't even see it. Oh yeah, I mean, look at this. It just whittled it right in half. I know it's completely blurry. So that right there took me, I don't even know, less than 5 minutes while I'm filming this. And this is S110V, again, by the way. It's a relatively difficult steel to sharpen, or it has a reputation for being a difficult steel to sharpen. I don't think it is a difficult steel to sharpen with proper abrasives. And we got a hair whittling edge after a handful of passes on a DMT fine and 10 to 15 passes on each side with diamond compound strops. So that's it, guys. That's my entire sharpening process. I know it's might be kind of a letdown. That's literally all I do to sharpen my pocket knives. The knives that I make, I use a completely different setup system for, but for my pocket knives, this is my go-to system, but most of the time I'm not doing it on a bench. I'm just doing that because I'm, filming this stuff. Most of the time I'm just sitting here holding it in my hand. Occasionally I will put the strop in a vise and do it that way rather than setting it on a bench where it'll slip around. But the whole sharpening process will take me a minute or two from start to finish. It doesn't matter if it's S110V or veg-tan or HCR13 MOV. That's the nice thing about diamond stones. They do have disadvantages in that they do wear out faster if you are a very heavy user. Me personally, just sharpening my everyday pocket knives on this, and I sharpen a lot. I haven't really had a problem with this per se. I have used this to do like really heavy work with some of the knives that I've made, like ridiculously heavy work, stuff that the vast majority of people who aren't making knives wouldn't do this on, and it is sort of wearing this down. Nothing lasts forever, but for the vast majority of people, that's not going to be an issue. That'll probably be a subject for another video anyway. So I highly recommend this stone. Again, I'll leave links in the description to where you can get all this. So one thing that I would like to hear from you is, what is your current sharpening setup, and your thoughts and opinions on it and how you use it. If you don't feel like typing all that out, just let me know your current setup. Always interested in hearing about what other people are using and why they're using it. Thank you guys for watching. Hopefully somebody got something out of this video, and we'll see you next time. My nose is like dripping because it's freezing in here.